Good evening, everyone. So we'll start now.
Good evening, sir.
Now we have more than 15 who are joined by 7-7. Now on 2nd March, we had introductions and project finance requirements from Anuradha Herath, Bank of Ceylon, Priyanjala Suravira, Commercial Bank, Nuwani Amarasinghe, Union Bank, Indika Vashan Pereira, BOC, Charunaka Senadira, PABC, Isuri Silva, Union Bank, and Gamini Garusinghe. Today, I think I want to thank them for their pioneering, for introduction and feedback. It will be very helpful for me in conducting the program when I know people at least personally on the link. So we have further 28 participants who should introduce. So today we'll get about 7 introductions. Last time Chanika wanted to introduce herself and she had got the laptop. She had a defect last time. Now she will start first today. So is Chanika there, Chanika? So until she joins, I'll go down to now. Up to now, we have covered project finance definition, external sources of project finance, nature and importance, project finance loans, project evaluation and selection by project sponsors, and project appraisal by financial institutions. Right? We said favorable consideration if the project promoter inspire confidence and few other factors. Then the project promoter sponsors appraisal, the management appraisal, then the market, demand and market analysis, sales forecast and marketing of products. Then the financial side, we started on capital cost and sources of finance. Today we are going to cover, other than part of the sources of finance, the financial analysis, technical appraisal, economic and environmental appraisal. Then I have a separate presentation called Technique of Project Financing. It looks at sectors, risk assessment, factors to be considered during evaluation, during implementation, on completion, and types of collateral and other terms of conditions. So we will now go for the introductions. Right. Looks like Chanika is not there still. We'll go to Gayantika Illavala. Gayantika Illavala.
Hi, sir. Hi, everyone. My name is Hasanji Ellavala, but they've registered me as Gayantika.
Okay.
I am basically not from the banking sector currently. I work for the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. I work in the capacity of developing thought leadership content for CIMA, but I have 3.5 years experience in working for Capital Maharaja projects. We basically we do the part of a project promoter, or we sometimes work as the intermediary between government and the investor. So I do have experience working for Maharaja in project management or other capital project development. And then also I've been working for Pan Asia Bank again for another 3.5 years. That is also as a relationship manager. And I've been handling SME credit when I was at Pan Asia.
Are you on camera? Have you switched on the camera?
Yes, sir. I am.
I think this system, I can't see you. Let me see. How
yes.
I can't see. Okay. Okay, Hassanji. Thank you very much. I think you want to learn about project financing. You had banking experience. That's why you have joined.
Yes.
Any projects you have handled recently?
Yes, that's true. Thank you, sir. Not recently, sir, but we've worked on a multiple number of projects at Maharajas. Of course, these are unsolicited bids. That was back in 2014, 13, and even Port City, Hambantota, LNG terminals. All of that were some of the projects that we worked on while I was working at Maharajas.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm happy that non-bankers are also there, two of you. Thank you. Next, Subhagini Yogalingam. Subhagini, are you there? Yes, she's there. Unmute your mic, Subhagini, and switch on your camera and speak. Still, until she gets ready, we'll go to Sandamali Dias. Sandamali? Okay, Chanika is there, right? Chanika.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm Chanika Aberatna. I work in Bank of Ceylon Card Center now in Card Center department.
Okay.
I have no wide experience with project financing subject, but in my branch experience, I face some difficulties about lack of knowledge of about in project financing. That's why I like to join this course.
Okay, thank you, Chanika.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Am I pronouncing your name correct? Chanika or Chanika?
Chanika.
Chanika. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Then Subhagini, are you there? I can see you have joined. And okay. Upasiri Karnaratna. Upasiri Karnaratna. That's from Bank of Ceylon. Sandamali is there. Sandamali, can you join? Can you speak?
Hi, sir.
Yes, Sandamali.
I'm Sandamali Dias.
Your camera is not on.
Yes, sir. There's a problem in my camera. Hello.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Sandamali Dias. Work for United Agro Farms Private Limited in Timigasaya. We are doing agriculture business, and we have to submit some agriculture proposals to the bank. Actually, that's why I'm joined to this class.
Okay. I think you have a good opportunity now. Several bankers are here.
Yeah.
You can contact them, and they will accommodate your requirements.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Sandamali, for joining. And I think I saw Subhagini Yogalingam trying to connect. Subhagini, she's joining from Jaffna, you know. She is the person most far away from Colombo. And so still maybe anyone else who wants to introduce yourself and explain to us your project finance experience. Okay, Subhashini Bandar.
Good evening.
Yes, Subhashini, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Subhashini. Presently, I'm working with NDB Project Finance Department in the capacity of a relationship manager. Prior to joining, I have been here for about 2 years. Prior to joining NDB, I was with DFCC, but there my experience is mainly in branch banking. So I volunteered for this program mainly in order to further enhance my knowledge in project financing.
Okay, thank you. I heard you have 4 participants, all are from project finance department. Is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because I spoke to Ishani and Ishani said that she has sent good material for me to train. Okay. Thank you, Subhashini. And your other colleagues, are they there?
Yes. I think Tarindri is.
Okay, can you see me?
Hi. Yes, I can see you, Tarindri. Please go ahead.
I'm attached to the project finance. I'm also attached to the same department, but I work for the corporate finance team. Yes, where we handle, that's the unit where we handle finance companies mainly. So I don't really get the opportunity to deal with typical projects, but it's more or less corporate lending as per your definition. Yes, because we tend to established finance companies mainly, right? But I have a few companies involved in the garment sector, right? But bulk of my portfolio consists of finance companies. And before joining NDB, I worked at DFCC Kalutara branch for 6 years. So my exposure was different. We dealt with a different type of clientele there.
So all the DFCC staff are going to NDB, is it? Yeah, I know you're doing this finance company with Dulani. I recruited Dulani to Ceylon Bank. She has all this experience in doing this finance company. She's doing that at Ceylon Bank as well.
Right, and I think even Bharti is there, right? Bharti
used
to be there.
Bharti, yes. After I left, Bharti also left. Yes.
Right, okay. Yes, I can remember your name being mentioned. I think, were you the person who interviewed Bharti?
Yes.
Right, okay. Yeah, I remember. Yes. Okay.
Okay, Tarindri, thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks. Okay.
We have Ayanta Piris, NDB. Ayanta, are you there? Okay. Fine. So we get all the NDB. Yes, Ayanta. We can't hear you. You are on mute. Unmute your mic. Okay.
My name is Ayanta Piris, and I also work at Project Finance Division at NDB. Currently, as the capacity of an account officer, currently I handle all the operational level matters on the project, on the portfolios. And with the opportunity for me to join on the mainstream, I thought of joining this class in order to enhance the knowledge of project financing and on evaluation and appraisals.
Right. Thank you, Ayanta. I know NDB, you have engineers separated. They are not doing project finance evaluation. And then you are also like that, is it?
No, that means the opportunity was given for me to, for the relationship management role. So for me to enhance my knowledge, I thought of joining to this class and not to know about project financing.
So at operational level, you must be checking the accounts, inspections,
yes.
all those things, no?
Day to day, all the transfers, the annual reviews, the computations. So those are the main functions.
Okay. Hope now after this program you can become a relationship manager handling projects.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Anka, thank you very much for joining. We have another Shalindri. Shalindri from okay, Shalindri.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening,
my name is Shalindri. I'm also attached to Project Finance Division at NDB in a capacity of an account officer like Ayanta.
Okay.
So I'm also not involved directly in projects, but I'm also helping RMs in all the operational work at the project finance department. So
Okay.
I think this course will help me to enhance my knowledge when I enter into the main business line. That's the
Okay.
idea.
I also wish that you will get enough knowledge to enter the business line as a relationship
Thank
manager.
you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think for today we'll close it. Is Subhagini still there? Subhagini, she has joined. Okay, right. So we'll get back to the main business. These introductions are very helpful because with that, I think everyone get to know each other, and I get to know all of you, so that it's easy for me to conduct the course. I want to find the presentations. Okay. We'll have to go down to the 23rd page. These are PowerPoint presentations. At IBSL, they convert into PDF documents. It goes very fast. Right. We are here. The ratio analysis. I think all of you would have heard about this ratio analysis. What are the ratios we normally look at? I will close this presentation and I'll go to the board to explain to you. Okay. Now ratios are there. Debt equity ratio. Low, average, high. Low, average, and high. Now debt equity ratio. How do you calculate debt equity ratio? Debt to debt equity ratio. You calculate by divide debt by debt plus equity. So debt equity ratio is divide debt by debt plus equity. Now, if it is under 50%, if it is under 50%, it is low. The debt ratio is low if it is under 50%. If it is 50 to 90%, it's average, right? And over 90% is high. Debt equity ratio. This is not a permanent thing, but normally accepted. If it is under 50% debt on the 100% total investment, it is low. If it is between 50 to 90% average, and over 90% is high. So what is the best debt equity ratio? There is no rule like that. There are some infrastructure projects, power projects, we go up to 75-80%, or normally 60% of debt. Sometimes some banks may say less than 50% of debt. So that depends on the bank and the risk we are taking. When the debt is high, the risk is high. Then the current ratio. What is current ratio? Current assets divided by current liabilities. Current assets divided by current liabilities is current ratio. If it is over 1.5, this is low risk. So over 1.5, it is low risk because current assets are 1.5 times current liabilities. 1 to 1.5 is average risk, because it's not 1.5, between 1 to 1.5 average risk, and under 1 is high risk. Under 1 is high risk. Now debt service cover ratio. Then we have debt service cover ratio. Debt service cover ratio, what is the normal accepted level? If debt service cover ratio is high, then the risk is low. Okay. So we say there is no rule like that. If it is 2, it's good, because the cash flow is good enough to is 2 times capital and interest payment to be paid. If it is less than 1 or less than 1, it is very high risk, because the cash flow cannot pay the loan, capital and interest. We have quick ratio. Quick ratio, we are going into details later as well, is quick ratio current assets less stocks. Less stocks divided by current liabilities. If it is less than 1.25, it is low risk. If it is 0.75 to 1.25 average, and if it is under 0.75, is high risk. So these are ways of looking at the ratios. We'll go into details later. I think today I have some problem with the system. Okay, done to me. Stop presenting me. Thanks. Luckily, it's checking, also listening and coming back. Thank you. Now, then break-even point. We will look at these. There are 3 break-even points: cash break-even, accounting break-even, and financial break-even. And if it is a production facility, how many units is the number of units is the break-even, right? We say production facility, you have to manufacture 100,000 tiles to break even. You have to manufacture and sell 100,000 tiles to break even, right? If it is a hotel, how do you look at the break even? If it is a hotel, we look at the occupancy, right? We say at 40% or 50% occupancy, the hotel will break even, right? So we have to try and get the break even more than the break even rate to run the hotel. If it is power project, that kilowatt hours, how many kilowatt hours of power they have to sell, generate and sell to break even, right? So those are break even points. We will go into details later. Then the discounted cash flow techniques, IRR, NPV, we will study later. Yeah. Project appraisal. Today I thought I will stand and deliver, because then you can see me properly. I can use my body language. So manufacturing process technology is, like we discussed I think last time also, it can be mature or proven. Then technically we will look at it favorable. And I discussed with you last time, when I was at HNB, we gave a loan to MDF board manufacturing project in Moratual. That was new technology. And that was a mistake we made, because that is not the bank's role to finance new technology, because we don't know. We can't predict the sales, we can't predict the cost in future. In the technical arrangements, is it only the machinery they are supplying, or they give training? So we have to get the technology transfer position as well. And size of the plant. Is it optimum size of the plant? Is it too high? Now, if the plant size is too much, what will happen? You will produce, you can't sell it. Maybe then you produce for 1 month, close for another 1 month, so that you sell your stocks. So the plant size should be based on that marketing. We said market demand, we appraise the market demand. So based on the market demand, and sometimes maybe little bit higher, because there will be increase in demand in future. Product mix. Is it one product or several products? Now, if you have one product, you have a risk, because if that product doesn't have a market, it has problems in the market, then you are stuck with it. So you should have a product mix. Now, if you take Royal Ceramics, they are tile company, right? But they have now bathroom fittings. I think maybe even taps, all those things they will be having, because they need to have the full product mix. When someone comes to the showroom, they should be able to offer the full product mix. Then the selection of plant and machinery. Right? In the technical appraisal, we have to see how they select. How did you hold quotations, and have you done any assessment of those plants? And now those days for hydropower, we used to get down machinery from Europe, because the European machinery were the best and didn't want to risk from China. Now I think none of the machines coming from Europe or coming from China or India. Then the procurement. How do you procure? What is the process? And the plant layout. So now if you take hydropower, you have a water flow, and for that you have a capacity. But if you design the plant with one turbine for that size, that capacity, you will have a problem, because the water there are higher levels of water coming in sometime, there are lower levels of water coming. So you might have to have two machines, because then one machine can run when there are low water in the stream, and both machines can run when there are higher water flow. I think I'm going. Then under the technical appraisal, we have to look at the location of the project. Land, where the land is, whether it's waterlogged land, right? Raw materials, whether the factory will be close to the raw materials or the factory will be close to the market. You have to decide whether what is better. If raw materials have to be transported for long distance, there will be a cost. So the market finished products may not be that heavy, it may not be taking that area, so transporting will be okay. Right? And for example, there were two projects from CEB. Tenders were won by Aitken Spence, and for thermal power projects. And one was Ace Power Anuradhapura, the other one was Ace Power Mathura, right? And both projects, they came to, I think, syndicate of banks to finance. Right? Now, CEB would have identified there was a demand for power in Anuradhapura and Mathura, where they can supply from the generators in close to that place. But what happened? Because of the protests from some people, that Srima Bodhi will be affected if the plant is located in Anuradhapura. That company also called, name was Ace Power Anuradhapura Private Limited. That power plant was shifted, Ace Power Anuradhapura was shifted to Horana. Right? So there will be things like that. So the location, the labor, availability of labor. When the factory is there, if the labor is not available, there is a problem. So we have to check whether the labor is available. Utilities, getting water, power, telecommunications, and the fuel-like things, you have to look at it. Then effluent disposal. If it is, there are a lot of effluents, it's better to locate it in an industrial estate, because the disposal, they have facilities, central facilities for disposal. Then the transportation, then community infrastructure, whether the community is looked after, and development of other industries. When there are several industries in some area, it will be easy for the industries to operate. And the last but not least, schedule of project implementation. And this is very important for monitoring of projects. Now we have participants who are involved in project finance, and when you go and visit a project, what are you going to check? You have to check the progress. To check the progress, you have to have the schedule of project implementation. At this point, they should have done all these things. Have they done? Have they achieved it? And you can ask for progress reports also from the customer and check the progress report when you visit the place. And after approval, you have to make inspections and then disbursements, and mainly, very important, close contact with the promoter. Because promoter, if you are not in close contact, might think the bank is not interested, so they might do something else So you have to have close contact with the promoter. Then the economic environment appraisal, because we have to look at social cost benefit analysis. Right? It's called economic or social cost benefit analysis. We can do projects, but if it is affecting the environment, if it is affecting the people in the vicinity, then it is not economically viable projects. So there are ratios for economic appraisal, economic rate of return, and when we were doing, there was a World Bank credit line where we were financing hotel projects in 1995-97, and they wanted economic analysis. So what we did was, we say number of employment, that is economic benefit to the country, right? And then foreign exchange income to the country, that is economic benefit. So there are, those days we didn't use this like IRR, you have economic rate of return, but gave these figures to get the approval of refinance. So the social profit measure the effect of the project on the fundamental objectives of the whole economy. Right? I think now you can't see the board. Can you see the board also? Can you see the whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
If I write something, I
I see.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can see.
I will erase this. But I think you will see, like you see in the mirror, or like an ambulance that you see on the other way, but you see social profit measures the effect on the project, effect of the project on the effect on the project on the fundamental objectives of the whole economy. Can you read what I have written? Social profit measures the effect of the project on the fundamental objectives of the whole economy. Because we cannot be having development if the economy, right, the country suffers due to the projects we do. Right? Now, what is happening now these days? When you switch on, I don't actually watch news. If you watch news, mainly seriously, they will say everywhere that forests are being cleared for projects, right? And waterways. If forests and waterways are not there, we will have a problem in the future. Now I will take you through a brief project financing process, right? That's called technique of project financing. And first, you have to understand the project rationale. So, those days, there were several engineers in NDB and DFCC, right? And when we started project finance at HNB also, I wanted to recruit engineers and science graduates because they have some background to analyze projects. And even DLCC used to have sector specialists for agriculture, aquaculture. They have agriculture qualified people, aquaculture qualified people, and hydropower. So why is it? Understand the project rationale, because we don't know everything. So if we have specialists and they will understand the project rationale. Then structuring a financing plan. You have to estimate the project cost, and we have to look at whether the promoter would have missed some costs. And mainly what they missed is interest during construction. Because interest during construction should be added to the project cost. Also, initial working capital. We will study later. Initial working capital should be provided in the project cost. If not, after the project is completed, we'll have to give another loan for the working capital. And assess the risk. We'll discuss later. And the project feasibility. We discussed earlier also project feasibility, and we will discuss in the future lectures as well. We have to, whether the project is viable, that is NPV should be positive, IRR should be more than our required rate of return, and designing of the financing mix. And financing mix to be decided based on cash flow and client requirement and project requirements. Okay, so based on cash flow and client requirements. So what are the areas, sectors of project financing? These are not conclusive list, but these are the areas we will get. Now we discussed last time also now hydropower, power and energy. Thermal, also there are large projects, but the thermal is going out because people say thermal is not good, even coal is not good. They want all renewable energy. But my specialist electrical engineer friends say you can't have 100% renewable energy. That will be very costly. You have to have base power stations like coal power, so that you can have a stable grid. In real estate development. Real estate development was doing very well, but I think last 2-3 years, real estate development has not doing well for large projects, but we were discussing that small projects, and then where the location, like Homeland has done really well in selecting locations and doing projects which are attractive to people. Then the telecommunication, plantations, manufacturing, food and beverages, tourism, leisure. I don't think a lot of people will start tourist projects these days, but I think this is the time to start new projects because you are down, but it will pick up. The problem with tourism is any crisis, it is getting affected. Those days also bombs in Colombo, tourism was affected. Now again, 2019 bomb, tourism got affected. Now COVID, tourism is affected, right? Because it's very sensitive industry. Cleaner production, pollution control, and the service sectors, waste to energy. Waste to energy, one project is completed, Eagle Spence project. Syndicate was led by HNB, and there was another project which we joined, Karadiana, Ceylon Bank, but that project could not start because of some approval problems, and the promoter doesn't have money. I hear they are going to sell it to some developers to do the project now. If you look at small hydropower is mini hydropower. That association is called Small Hydropower Association. and we call it mini hydropower. And that hydropower sector started developing with the World Bank credit line in 1997. So I was very closely involved with the DFCC administrative unit and played a part in formatting the second credit line, which was called RED, Renewable Energy for Rural Economic Development. Then the thermal, always controversial. Lakdanavi, that LTL first thermal power plant, it was dismantled and scrap exported to Pakistan, I think. And 8 constraints also, this Mathura and Hammathura, now I don't think they are operations because their time is over. And solar was expensive because of the solar panels. Now, little by little, with the development of technology, the cost is coming down, and I see banks are financing a lot of solar projects, and the promoters, like Akbar Brothers, I was told they did 10 megawatt recently solar project. That's Windforce, their company, power company, which is going for a public listing. Windforce, the Akbar Brothers and some other investors, total power companies going for a listing soon. And wind, Halpetia, there are several wind projects done by Senok and Lanka Transformers Limited. So there are several projects, and we should know how to evaluate them. So that's why all of you have joined this course. And we have to do risk assessment. We discussed previously as well the promoters. Now, this chairman of SLESIC, that is Sri Lanka, that is export insurance company, they came to us for a hydropower loan. Then I told my boss, the DGM at that time, I was an AGM, how can we give him a loan because he doesn't have any background in power. So he got an engineer, very bright engineer. They did together, and that project was successful, and they were very happy that the interest rate was so low. And what they did was they, after some time, sold the project, and the chairman went to start the Fairway Group, and that engineer is the managing director of Windforce, and both are doing really well. And the Interbatch porcelain, that was a tile project. It was syndication was led by Bank of Ceylon Foreign Department, and it was US company setting up a tile project in Horana with Carson's Cumberbatch joint venture. And I have just joined HNB, and we put some conditions that for the project we should have these conditions, and we were told that American investor will leave if we put some conditions for the loan. So we had to agree. We gave US dollar loans, right? But then the project, they started production, and Bank of Ceylon general manager and some of us visited the opening. And however, it did not last even 1 month. All the banks lost. There were 4 banks, and then we sold it to Royal Ceramics. And Royal Ceramics is making a lot of money out of it now, and they bought it for a song, very small amount. So the promoters very important. Now we went for that American party saying that they are from US coming to Sri Lanka to do the project. But we have not checked their credentials, what they have done in China. Right? So we have to always look at the promoter's background and see. Now that Borotua timber thing, the MDF board, again, the promoters, he was not straight person. They were up to no good. They have defaulted commercial bank, and like that we got, I think we were cheated, like. expected performance. Right? Now, expected performance, we should be able to technically somehow someone has to evaluate and say this, because if the expected performance is not achieved, that will be a problem, because then the turnover will not be there, you can't pay the loans. So those are the risks you have to access. Credit, we give loan, can we recover? Because I had a DGM who said, when I said he's a very good customer, he says yes, he's a very good customer until you give the loan. After we give the loan, we have to go behind them sometimes. Right? So credit, we have to think whether we can recover. And so we have to do this analysis. Interest rate risk because of the fluctuations. Now we give, now these days you are giving at low interest rates can go up. If it is floating rate, the project may not be able to pay at the higher rate. So that is this interest rate risk. Cost overruns. Cost overruns, if there is cost overrun, who is going to finance? Because of that, we have to have contingencies. And now because of COVID, most banks would have to somehow finance cost overruns. If not, the project will go bad. Right? So cost overruns and the delays. If there are delays, then there will be again cost overrun. So we have to see there are no project delays. Non-completion. If project is not completed, there's a big risk. Now we had in HNB hydropower project in Avisaville, because of the protest from the people, they could not complete. Later, I think they have sold it to someone else. But the non-completion risk, then the obsolescence. What is obsolescence? That the product they are manufacturing is now not required by the market. There is example of fertilizer manufacturing. That's a government project. In 70s, they started fertilizer manufacturing project, and that the cost of raw material was more than the finished goods price. So it was losing money. Now the Lindell, Lanka Industrial Estate, Lindell Industrial Estate is located at that fertilizer factory premises. So, and due to inconsistent policies, also we can have obsolescence. There are some more risks, social risk, environmental risk. Right? We'll look at in the later in risk assessment when you are doing an example. I think we'll now stop for the break. Come back at 7:15. Any questions before that? Am I looking better standing or sitting? How many are there? We have 25. Anyone speaking? Can't hear. Okay, so I'll see you at 7. Welcome back. Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions from the presentation done before the break? Right. So we'll go to the other slides. Now, during evaluation, we have to consider these factors, right? acceptability of the project. Why do you call acceptability? Now, some banks may have some sectors they may not be financing. Right? So banks have sectors which are financed. Now, when I was at HNB, there was a tannery relocation to down south, and then the tannery projects came to us for financing for relocation. But my DGM said he doesn't like it because tannery is connected to slaughter of cows and other similar animals. Right? So, like that, some banks would have gone for prawn farming. I know those days prawn farming, Ceylon Bank was very much in leading, but some banks may not go for prawn farming. So acceptability of the project, we have to look for the bank. Right? And then we have to look at applicants' legal capacity to borrow. There are some BOI companies which cannot borrow locally. And some of them have come to Ceylon when I was there. But we can't lend to them because according to the BOI agreement, they cannot borrow in Sri Lanka. They have to bring all the funds from abroad. Then background information of the promoters of the project. Now that I explained to you that tile project, US company, the tile project, if the lead bank at that time, if they checked the background of the promoters, we would not have lent the money. And the review of applicants' banking history and past borrowing record. So we have to check now that mistake we made in HNB when that Morotoro customer came for MDF board manufacture. They had problems with other banks. We didn't check with other banks what was the problem, and we accepted the explanation given by him. So we have to check his history and past borrowing records, and the relationship between initial project cost and financing quantum. Whether, like we look at debt equity ratio, so the project cost and the financing quantum, what is the relationship? The reasonability of item cost, overall project cost, duration of project implementation. Then someone might come and give us a BOQ, right? And the item costs will be there, but we have to check whether the item costs are reasonable and whether the overall project cost. Like, there are project sponsors who will overstate the project cost. Right? Why? And then they will ask percentage of that as loan. So when you overstate project cost and get a percentage, then you are not putting any money sometimes, and all the bank money will be used for the project. So, and the duration of project implementation. We have to see whether it's reasonable, whether it's not too short, not too long, and whether the reasonable project implementation based on the contractual agreements, everything. Now, to review of applicants' banking history, and we can get reports, status reports from maybe foreign banks, if there are foreign parties. Then, during evaluation, again, formalities, procedures, and issues in relation to government legislative provisions. Right? We have to check whether they are doing this project according to the law of the country. Right? If not, we will be in trouble. Now, similar thing happened with a hospital project in Anuradhapura. So when I joined HNB, there had been a loan approved for a hospital project in Anuradhapura. It's called Victory Hospital, and that promoters of that were very good relationship with the government, and the government changed, and before they have not got the lease agreement. And so after government change, they are not getting the lease agreement, but the bank has released funds without even the security documentation is complete. And I don't think it happens now. Those days it has happened because the promoter was very good, close contact of the managing director at that time, and the branch has taken the risk and they have released the loan. So that is formalities, procedures in relation to the bank also you have to follow, and in relation to the government as well. And the contractual arrangements to support project. That is what we have to look at, the construction contracts, M&E contract. And then whether machinery are imported, how is the machinery, the selection, those the delivery and installation and training. So all contractual arrangements to support project should be looked at. And borrowing capacity of the project. That is, we will do this financials, cash flows, and see is the what is the borrowing capacity of the project. And then we look at the debt service cover ratio, and we look at the financing of the project. Market appraisal. And we discussed this earlier. Market appraisal is very important, and what is the market share we are going to take? Our sponsor is going to take. Then overall financial viability of the project, that is acceptable level of free cash flows, internal rate of return, net present value, debt service cover ratio. Right. So first we have to calculate the free cash flows. We will do that later. Then we calculate IRR, NPV, and debt service cover ratio. Then credit requirements of other lenders. Right. Sometimes we do this joint loan, syndicate, or maybe both banks together. It's called, I can't remember the term, loan. Now this DFCC and NDB, they were development banks earlier, and they were not able to open LCs. Right? And the commercial bank, which is maybe HNB or any other commercial bank who are joint venture partner, will be opening the LCs. But then when they became commercial banks, they were putting a condition that LC should be opened through them. But that should not be acceptable if there are 2-3 banks. Right? Then you have to share the LC or LC commission to be shared. Then the tax and accounting considerations. What are the effects? An independent opinion on project parameters. I have shared with you that 2 projects we did. We got the consultant to check the project parameters and give us a report whether the project parameters proposed by the sponsors can be acceptable. Now, I give an example what happened with this government changing their policy. Right? Government is not consistent. One government budget, they reduce excise tax on beer, excise tax on beer, like strong beer. Then new breweries started, and existing breweries expanded. And we financed a company called United Breweries in 1997. They started with Mauritius Brewery. Mauritius Brewery was a partner of that, and the local partners were, I can't remember the names, but I can't disclose also. And they came up with several products called Bison, King's Large, King's Pilsner, King's Stout. They were high alcohol content beer, and a lot of people changed from I think alcohol, Arak, to these beers. However, after some time, the government again imposed tax. They increased the excise tax on alcohol content a couple of years later. Now, what will happen to that company? Their market was lost because now their prices are going up. I don't know whether that company is still there. It's called Asia Pacific Breweries. Later, the name was changed. Since I'm not interested in alcohol or beer, I have not checked that. Their factory was in Mavatagama. So it's really difficult for the industry, for promoters, when the government is not consistent. And they change their policies midway. So another example is government has now stopped restrictions on import of the sanitary ware, all these things, and suddenly government came up with a circular that they are going to remove some of the items from the restrictions on import. And then these people, like Royal Ceramic and them, they have said, government, give us at least 5 years, because we are starting new factories, give us 5 years that without imports. So I think they were more very powerful. They were able to get that circular change within 24 hours. So that's the problem that these people have, the industry has. Government will change their policies without looking at what they have promised. So now during implementation period, now earlier we were looking at evaluation. We have to establish the equity contribution. Because they have promised, we say 50% equity, 50% loan. 50% equity, we say 100 million. How are they bringing? How do you establish? I think NDB has a lot of systems to do that. That's why some of them check all this information, and you have to see, maybe get the like bill of the bills. There are construction bills. Right? So when the architect approves the bill, architect or engineer approves the bill, we know this is the bill they are going to pay. So part will come from the equity, part will come from the loan. Right? And the completion of security documentation. And you can't release the loan until completion of security documentation. If not, the problems I explained earlier can happen to the bank. And establishment of letters of credit for import of project machinery and equipment. And progress reviews. They can have progress review meetings, and the bank also may attend and to see whether they are properly implementing the project. And disbursement of loan proceeds. Most of the time we do it in installments, not like any other loan. Project loans, you are not giving 100% after approval to the promoter. Say you go and complete the project, we are giving it in installments. Then the insurance. You have to take for construction all risk insurance policy during implementation. Then on completion, you go for, again, insurance. Right? You have to look at whether they have insured the factory for the value, because that is our security. That is your security. And again, now during this implementation also, during inspections, after completion also, we have to inspect whether the production is going according to what was estimated, what was planned, right? And whether proper books of accounts and financial statements are prepared. And monitoring and identification of factors affecting the going concern ability of the company. So we have to monitor whether the factories, the company is a going concern. And identification of early warning signals. Because if without our knowledge, if the company goes bankrupt, that means we have not been monitoring. So we have to see early warning signals. What are the early warning signals? Someone
Check returns.
on?
Check returns.
Yeah, check returns. Yes, very good. Check returns. Few more.
Delay of installment payments.
Yes, delay of installment and interest payment. That is also warning sign, right? Early warning signal. Okay. Then we ask them to provide us with the financial, like maybe monthly accounts, all those things. They might not provide us, right? So that is also another warning, early warning signal. Right? And that's why it's very important you inspect the project. When you go to see the site, you can see less activity in the factory. If you see not many people and less activity, that is also early warning signal. And you can also see to the account, the money coming to the account is coming down, right? The deposits, the sales proceeds are coming down. So that is also early warning signal. Any other early warning signals?
Seeking temporary facilities always.
That's very good. Yes, yes. Asking for temporary facilities, right? Because they are not having cash, so the sales are not there. Maybe they are not collecting properly, and then asking for temporary facilities. Very good. Then we can even find from the suppliers, right? Maybe suppliers are our customers, whether they are getting paid. Suppliers are not getting paid. That means, again, early warning signal. Right. I think you are experts than me. You may know much more. Then when we find there are problems, before waiting till it goes bad, we have to reschedule the facility. Right? We have to look at what are the problems, whether they can come out of the situation. If not, if they cannot come out of the situation, there is no point in rescheduling the facility. That means we will be rescheduling all the time, and there will not be a central bank doesn't allow rescheduling several times. Right? So reschedule the facilities before it goes into non-performing, right? And try to, because I think with the COVID, what government gave for the banks was to reschedule, because if not, the banks NPAs would have gone high. Right? So the central bank allowed banks to reschedule the loans, give moratoriums, and I saw somewhere the transport sector asking for another 6 months moratorium, and the finance minister, state finance minister, has said, yeah, we are giving it. So I think it's sometimes goes out of control, and they are not looking at how the banks run. They try to please the general public. So on completion, also we look at I think same thing. I am clicking the mouse, thinking that it will go to the next slide because it's PowerPoint, but we have to bring it down. Right. What are the types of collateral? Collateral is the security you take. Right? So we can have primary or concurrent primary mortgage or project assets, and movable and immovable separate. If syndicated loan, we go for concurrent primary mortgage or project assets. Why do we go for syndicate loans?
To share the risk?
Yeah, share the risk. And one reason is that is too big for
one bank to handle.
Yeah, bank to handle. And better, you should not be like greedy. Some banks I know have not shared some of the projects with other banks, and when it goes bad, they can't ask for other banks to join as well, right? Because if you are syndication, and if it goes bad, or all the banks together can finance addition. So for one bank, it will be too much. So because of that, you share it. And because of sharing it, you are sharing your knowledge as well. All the different banks have different strengths, and then even the monitoring, evaluation, the banks will share their knowledge. So the syndication is very good when the loan is big. Then in project financing, normally you should not take corporate personal guarantees of promoters. Project financing is there because now if there is a company, you can do a project under that company. Then you are looking at that company, financials, everything, and give the loan and take some security from the company. But in project financing, you are doing it, it's a different entity, and you are looking at the cash flows generating from that entity and take the assets owned by that entity. So that is project financing. But I have gone through a few project proposal, project approvals recently. I find that to reduce risk, we are taking promoters guarantees, corporate guarantees, personal guarantees. But that is project financing is you only take the project assets and you go by the project cash flows for the payment. So even small companies can do projects because they are not being taxed other than their investment in the project. We will discuss later. Joint and several personal guarantees of directors, right, in private, unquoted public companies. But that is also not correct. But because to get additional security, the banks do it. And assignment of rights and pledges of shares of the project company, we discussed last time as well, because the approvals, the licenses, everything is with the project company. So you have to get assignment and of rights and pledge of shares in favor of the banks. And letters of comfort from promoters. Now, when in the 90s, when we were financing projects in Maldives, those days there was no way of getting the mortgage over islands at that time. And two Sri Lankan conglomerates, John Keells and Aitken Spence, went into constructing hotels in Maldives. Now, HLB financed these projects only on the comfort letter from Aitken Spence. I remember that they gave only comfort letter, we didn't have security. We financed those projects in Maldives. And to my knowledge, Maldives project loans, none have gone bad. There were problems in 2008, 2011 period, but all have been recovered, and most of the things, none has gone bad. So what are the other terms and conditions? The evaluation fee. This will change from bank to bank, and 0.25% of the project cost, subject to minimum 100,000. If there are different things, you can share with me. And the commitment fee, 1% to be charged on the undisbursed amount of the loan after expiry of a reasonable time period. Because commitment fee is that we have approved the loan, and they have taken, maybe we have approved 500 million, they have taken only 300 million, right? After 2 years. We can say after 1 year. If they have not taken, we say we kept those funds for you, so we are charging commitment fee of 1%. Okay. And the repayment, maximum period of 10 years. Normally banks go beyond 10 years with maximum grace period of 2 years, subject to review of the projected cash flows. Sometimes you can have to go for 3 years. In the prepayment charges, now we give a loan so that because we have analyzed everything and we are giving a loan, so that loan should be paid on time, right? And not in advance. Now, prepayment, you can have different slabs. You say, if you pay before 3 years, this one, before 5 years, like that, prepayment charges can be different slabs. Do you know what GMOA has said? GMOA has said these banks are charging prepayment charges, right? And they are saying why banks charge prepayment. Banks should be happy that the loan is paid, right? So that their knowledge of banking is that. So the doctors know their job, but then they don't know the banker's job, right? So they have appealed. I think they have written to central bank asking the banks, tell the banks not to charge prepayment charges. In the maintenance of project assets. Now the security for the banks is the project asset, right? So we have to ensure that the project assets are maintained in good state of repair and not sold, transferred, mortgaged, leased, or encumbered without prior approval from the bank. So that is, without the prior approval from the bank, they can't sell these assets. Actually, when it is mortgage, you can't do. This problem happened to when we did Spathodia, right? When I was at HNB, I explained last time also. We did a apartment project for Spathodia. I was not in project finance. I was head of DGM, I was CEO Sigma, and DGM services. DGM services of the bank, and the CEO Sigma is the real estate company. And our managing director, Mr. Vijay Tiraka, wanted to do a real estate project, apartment project. So there was a land on Havelock Road owned by one of the customers, and the customer put the land, and we didn't pay for the land, and it was 2 parts. So this was HMB mortgage. This was Celan. Okay. Now, and we completed the apartment, and that promise from the customers that he will get this release. And there was, I think, 50 purchase. We calculated 4 million and made 200 million. The problem had been, while we were doing the project, Celan had problems. Celan had problems with the Selinco problem, and then one of the DGMs have got them to give a mortgage, additional mortgage on this land, which was not there. Right? So when we can't get the deeds done for the apartment project because we don't have the title of the land. So approached Celan, and then Celan said, "You pay us, I think 180 million or something." 180 million on the mortgage. So on the land money, which should go to the customer, 200 million, we paid 180 million to Celan to get the title cleared, because our buyers who have bought the apartments were asking for parts of the title of the apartments, but until we got this, we could not do it. So sometimes they might give a mortgage over the property to some other party without our knowledge. So other terms and conditions. Interest rate. Interest rate can be fixed rate or floating rate. Now, what is the rate you are giving now for facilities? So project finance facilities. I don't want the rate, Are you giving fixed rate or floating rate?
Both.
Both, is it?
Yeah, I mean, we quote fixed
Floating.
rates as well as floating rates, depending on the customer requirement.
Yeah, the fixed rate may be very much higher than the floating rate.
Yes, yes.
Right, yeah, because at the moment, if you fix a rate at this level, then the banks are at a risk. Interest rate risk is there, because if the interest rate go up again, because it can't go down anymore, go up again, the bank will be exposed. So you give a higher fixed rate or floating rate, which is lower, because with the floating rate, when the PLR will go up, then the rate will go up. Okay, yeah.
Depending on the customer requirement, we quote both fixed and variable, but most of the customers, they require variable rates.
Right, okay. I think the customer side, fixed rate is better. Because but fixed rate, I think maybe they are assuming these low rates will be there for a long time. Right?
So at a glance, it's unattractive. Fixed rates, when you just, at a glance, I guess they are unattractive. Fixed rates.
Yeah, fixed rate, yeah, because it is higher, no?
Yes, yes.
So they go for a floating rate, and they have the risk of rate going up. Are you having a what is it called, floor and ceiling for the floating rate?
Yes, where certain customers are concerned, we incorporate a floor and a cap.
Floor and cap, yeah. Floor and cap, because then their interest rate risk getting lesser. If not, it can go more than the way they can accommodate. They can actually accommodate in the project. Yeah. Thank you very much. Rupee loans, we normally use average weighted deposit rate when we were doing this World Bank credit line, but I think now we use average weighted prime lending rate, and the treasury bill rate also used to be. What is the rate which is normally used now for rupee? TLR, is it?
TLR plus 2, something like that.
Yeah,
It's a long-term.
Out of these, AWDR and treasury rate you are not using for floating rate calculation?
We use the PLR.
PLR, yeah. Okay. PLR plus 4, is it?
2,
right. Okay. That foreign currency loans. So foreign currency loans you give LIBOR or US prime rate. And if you look at Maldives, their interest rates are very high. In banks make a lot of money in Maldives because we give, I think, LIBOR plus 5 or 6 the rates in Maldives. Right. End of presentation. We have 10 more minutes. Anything to discuss? Yeah, no, actually, we are going to start our assignment very soon, right? Now, according to the syllabus, we were saying exam 70%, 10% for assignments, and 20% for case study. So I discussed, I thought we'll make 20% assignments, 10% case study, and there will be two assignments, main two assignments. One is preparation of a project proposal. Like you are going to get a loan from a bank, you are preparing the project proposal, right? As the Director General also mentioned that day, before analyzing a project, we should know how to prepare a project proposal, right? So that will be the first assignment. And the second assignment is you prepare a analysis board paper recommending a project, right? So what do you prefer? Preparing a project proposal, you want to do your own project or you want me to give a project? Maybe I'll give more details. Then I think it's too early, and you can't comment. Maybe others may not like what you prefer. So I understand the silence. And next week we will start theory, right? Some corporate finance. Then we will go into analysis. The financial analysis from next Tuesday. Any questions? We have 24 of you. If there are no questions,
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, ask. Very good.
I have a question. If a project is dragging for long time than expected, what we can do?
I think I mentioned maybe yesterday, on Tuesday. Now, after we get into the project, very difficult to come out. Okay, because
Yes.
because of the project. Project is dragging. Maybe you are referring to some apartment projects which has been dragging.
Yes.
For long.
These days. Yeah.
Yeah, because that one project I know that what is that project which is with the inclining building, where that project should have been completed, I think, 2 years back.
Hyatt, right?
Huh?
Even the Altea.
Altea, I think that's Altea. Hyatt is
Altea is also one of them.
Different thing, because that is a government.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Altea. Now, I think, I don't know how it was. That is an Indian joint venture, and then the project would have been evaluated. Then about 1 or 2 years back, another loan was given to complete that project. Is the project complete, Altea?
No, not yet.
Not yet, no? Right. Okay. That's the thing. That's a big problem, I think, for the lenders. And even the apartment buyers, I'm told, they have bought the apartment and they have to wait several years to get the apartment, right? Ownership. So those type of things, I think you are referring to, Shanagar, as dragging. It's very difficult. Maybe that one thing we can do, if we have taken that shares, I don't think apartment projects you take shares when you give a loan. You can find a buyer, maybe different promoter who has more track record, who we know will complete the project. So that's the only way. Ask the company to sell it to them, and if it is dragging, that means it is going to NPA as well. So you can take over. You can auction the go for parate action and auction it. But with the apartment project, this little problem is that they have this other because of the buyers of apartments, there can be problems. But if Anyone else want to answer Shanika's question with your experience?
Are there any instances where banks have actually gone for Parate where apartment projects are concerned?
Yeah, I know. We
Blue Ocean, right? Blue Ocean was one.
Yeah, Blue Ocean, actually, there was no project as such, no, maybe the land. Yeah.
All right, okay.
Blue Ocean, but Blue Ocean, I don't know whether there will be other apartment projects they were having. And if it is land development, it is easy. Then take it over and sell the land, right? But it's always when the project goes bad, it's a headache for the bank because the process is difficult for the banks to take action. And
because there are so many parties involved.
Yeah. So when the economy is not that conducive, we'll have to wait and see, no, sir?
Yeah, but I think some projects, they are going bad, not because the economy is not doing well. I think how they structured it, right? Because I think I explained to you some developers who do small projects and then they make a lot of money. They think they can do large projects also and make money, but they don't bring equity, right? At least 1/3 of equity should come in, because the equity is not there. Then one developer, because then when they have been used to getting the customer advances and the bank loan and completing the project, right? As you say, economy is little tight, they don't get the customer advances, but they should have their equity coming in to complete at least up to some level, so that you can ask for the bank to offer an additional loan. Right?
We have to plan for the downturns as well, sir. Right?
Yeah.
Economic downturn also we have to, consider.
Yeah, that's the problem with even the banks and developers. This apartment thing has about 10-year cycle. Now 2008,
Yes.
9, 10, there was this downturn, right? And after that, it was doing very well. And I think the former governor also made a strong comment, and it started going down. But that no one expect that no one planned for that downturn, and they go ahead with projects. And even I am guilty of approving loans just before the downturn.
This pandemic situation is quite unexpected, no, sir?
Yeah. But before the pandemic also they were affected, actually.
And most of the small scale developers, I mean, they don't wait until they finish one project, do they?
Yeah.
They embark on another project before finishing one project. Small scale developers.
Yeah.
And then diversion of funds is quite obvious, I guess.
Yeah, that happened to us in Vellavatta. And he was doing a project in Vellavatta, and then we were giving funds. But then what he does is, advances he goes and buy another land. Because they don't want to wait, because if not, they don't have the continuity of projects.
Right, okay.
So because of that, they go and buy. Then the problems start when you can't sell and you can't complete the project. So you are getting stuck. As you say, Talindi, that's a big problem with small developers. And the
I
banks,
think entrepreneurs, they need that, to keep them going. They need that. They need to embark on many projects, and that keeps them going, I guess.
Yeah. The same with the big developers. Fairway, if you take Fairway Group,
right? Okay.
How many they also have land, and when the cash flows affected, they got stuck with projects. Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Shanika, for the question, and Tarindi and others for your input. Anything else? I am getting hungry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.